You have to get to the point where your business can run itself, where you're going off on vacation for a month and things run.
All right. So, welcome to the You Are Lawyer podcast. Francis Joseph, how are you today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. So, you and I connected on LinkedIn, and I thought what you were doing was absolutely phenomenal because you work as a fractional CFO, which is a chief
Yes,
financial
I
officer.
do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, would you tell me what is that all about? What's a regular day like for you?
So, regular day, I meet with a couple of clients and I would look at clients' books. So, in my firm, we have bookkeepers, accountants, and myself as a fractional CFO. And what that means is I'm a CFO for various companies, it's not just one company. And so they get a fraction of my time, hence fractional.
Yeah. So, what does that entail? Like, I am still a new business owner. February
Okay.
2025 made 2 years. So, I'm still really, really new. Why would I need a CFO? How do I know that I need a CFO?
One of the reasons why you would need a CFO is you want to grow your business, for example. Or, we all dream when we start our business, like, this is the revenue I'm going to hit when I'll know I'm okay. And then you hit that revenue and you're not seeing the profits that you thought you would be at that point because of the way you calculated it. And so we have some fixed costs, we have some costs that are going to vary by how much business you're doing, that kind of thing. But a fractional CFO, a CFO is the accountant who's going to help you to see where your business is going, where the cash is going, and how to grow your business. What steps you need to take to grow your business.
Yeah. So that's an interesting perspective. I would get a CFO when I'm ready to scale, right? So it's like, okay, I've been managing it myself for this long, but now I'm ready to go to the next step. How
Yes.
did you get interested in this? Like, did you grow up wanting to be an accountant or what?
I did not. I grew up wanting to be a medical doctor, and I spent my first year in medical school in the UK, and my second year, I got my first cadaver, and I was like, I'm out of here. No, not doing this. And so I also grew up with a father who drummed it into us that you had to have a profession. And so when I decided I wasn't going to be a doctor anymore, I had to find an alternate profession. And there happened to be an accounting firm that I walk past all the time, KPMG, and I just walked in there, or as they would say, I waltzed in there and demanded a job because, I was very young and didn't know how things worked. So at that point, I saw a door and I just walked through it. And I asked them for a job, and it took me 5 hours to convince them. But they, they eventually said, if you go back to school and study accounting, you can come here in the summers and you have a job. And that's how I ended up being an accountant.
Okay, I mean, that's an amazing story, but also you got to tell me way more. What was it like when you took that first class? Were you like, did it just click and it made sense to you, like accounting and finance and all of that?
It didn't make any sense at all. But the good thing was that I had that experience of going to the accounting firm, on my holidays and, whenever I was off from school. And what I was doing in the firm made sense. That was, like looking at real business, but it didn't really tie to what I was learning in school until much later.
Okay. Yeah. So, for everyone that's listening, or if you're watching on YouTube and you're like, okay, but this is the You Are a Lawyer podcast, what's the point? Francis, you are not a lawyer or a practicing attorney, is that correct?
Mhm. That is
Okay.
correct.
But you like to work with lawyers and law
I do.
firms.
I
Okay,
do.
so tie those two together. Where did you create or carve out this little niche for yourself?
So after I left KPMG, I went to corporate accounting, and which means that I was working as an accountant in various corporations. And one of my last jobs was at um, a consulting firm, and we had a division called Forensics and Litigation Consulting. And that's where I met a lot of attorneys. I talked to a lot of attorneys. We were working with them. And one of the things that I noticed was how challenged attorneys were when it came to their finances. We were always chasing them down to get their money. We were always chasing them down for various things. And I just, once I left that place and I decided to go out on my own, I was like, it's a natural progression for me to go and work with attorneys.
Yeah. Okay. Difficult for us to turn in stuff. Absolutely. Right. If it's not on fire right now, it's really low on the priority list. Also, a lot of times, and a lot of people go into law because we don't like numbers. When we think numbers, we think doctors and all of that stuff. And, so yeah, I kind of get that we're just like, didn't really care. How did you figure out like the special way to make them care, or to say, hey, I can take this off your plate and this is why it's valuable? What was that pitch like?
So usually for me, I try to get lawyers to understand that your law firm is a business. I understand that the law is what you love, but the minute you go out and start a firm, that's a business. And you owe it to yourself to understand what's going on in your business so that it can be a going concern. One of the things that I also talk about is, the first day you start your business, you have to decide how you want to exit it. So when you go into a business, whether we like it or not, because we're human, we're not going to be around forever. That's the first thing. And secondly, even if you think you're going to do this for the rest of your life, you may not. Who knows? So it's always a good thing to know how you're going to exit your business, how the whole thing is going to run if something happened to you. For example, you won 500 million in the lottery, don't just throw the business away. You can sell it, to another law firm or whatever it is. If something comes along and happens, it can be a health issue for the person or for a family member, and they're gone for 6 months. You have to have those things in place that take care of the business. And that's one of the things that I talk to people about right from the beginning is we're going to sit down together, and this is not just doing debits and credits and all of that. We're going to sit down together and help you carve out a way to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So even hearing you say that, I'm like, why would you talk to an accountant about selling your business? Oh, so that you can know what it's worth. Oh, so that you can know what someone would pay. Oh, so you can make sure your books are in order, right? Okay. And so is it fun working with lawyers, or is it fun to finally get us to realize, oh, okay, let me take the finance part of my business serious? Do you see that as like your own personal challenge that you get to like kind of beat every time, or what?
So I don't find it challenging at all to talk to attorneys about money and accounting and all of that. I actually find it a lot of fun because every single one of my clients said to me at the beginning of the engagement, I hate numbers. I don't want to do it. I want you to be in charge of it. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then we start looking at how the business is progressing. We start putting plans in place, and we're seeing these things happen. Like there's nothing more fun than saying, okay, you're going to hit this certain revenue number. And they're like, yeah, I don't see that. And then we hit it, and they're like, oh, this can happen. We can plan this and make it happen. And that gets a lot of people excited. So I'm always excited when that light bulb goes off.
Yeah. So I know in a practical sense, what you track grows, right? What you
Hmm.
measure grows. So
Yes,
you're saying, yes, that is true.
that is very true.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Okay. So, Francis, the audience of this podcast is typically young lawyers, 5 years practicing or less, or law
Hmm.
students.
Yeah.
How does a young lawyer know it's time to work with an accountant? Like, how would I know? I mean, do I need to have a paralegal? Do I need to have at least one client? Like, how do we know?
So whenever you're ready to go out on your own, you need somebody. And I would not say like the first day. Whenever you see that you start spending money and money starts coming in, you want to get a hang of it. So there are different accountants, of course. you need a bookkeeper at that point. You need somebody who can get the debits and credits correct and make sure that your books are well kept. And then once you get to the point where now you have a number of clients and you're working on your own, you don't even need to necessarily have a paralegal or another associate working with you yet. But once you have that full book, you need somebody else who can look at things and help you plan how to grow. Most of my clients have 2-3 years of owning their own business. But when you first start out, your engagement might just be having somebody come in and look at what you want to do every quarter. It doesn't have to be a monthly engagement. So this way, like every quarter, you have your goals, you have, the steps you want to take towards those goals, and you go and execute. And then this person comes back after that quarter and we measure where we are. So really, you can get somebody right out of the gate, and it depends on what you're trying to achieve or where you are, what kind of engagement that will be.
Okay. So I'm listening and I'm like, that sounds scary to let someone look at your books. It's like, no, I've been keeping this afloat. It doesn't matter how I've been keeping it afloat. What would you say to someone who's like, nope, I can just keep it going as long as we cover everything, it's fine? Like, how would you let them know? Like, it's probably good to let somebody else come and take a look.
I don't think it hurts to let somebody else come and take a look. And I think that there's a lot of benefit to it. Why would you want to hold yourself back? If you don't let somebody who's a professional take a look, is that you're going to be limited by your own knowledge, which, a lawyer's knowledge in accounting is probably zero. So I would not want to represent myself in court.
Lawyers don't want to either. Yeah. We have a
But,
common saying in law school, the person who represents themselves is a fool.
Yeah.
So that's a really good example that if you're looking at your own books and you don't know anything about accounting, you're probably being foolish. Yeah.
I have an accountant of my own.
Okay.
I don't do my own books. I don't do my own accounting.
All right. You're speaking to me now. I'm like, okay, Kyla. I'm limited. Yeah, I'm limited by my own knowledge. That's a fascinating way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Francis, I remember when I was looking and preparing for the recording, you've mentioned and talked online about paying yourself as a business owner and a law firm owner. Mm-hmm. What is that all about?
So, most business owners, and including law firm owners, will pay themselves after everything has gotten done and everything else has gotten paid. And so they end up getting what I consider an afterthought salary. So it might not be consistent and it might not be much. So they're like, I'm running this business, whatever is left over is what I get paid. Remember how I said from the very beginning, you want to make sure that you know how to exit the business? One of the things that you need to consider is your salary. If you are not paid consistently and correctly, your business is going to be worth less. Whoever wants to buy your business or whatever, how you want to get rid of it, they have to add back that salary, like a real salary, as if they're hiring somebody else to do your job. And so not paying yourself, first of all, will get you frustrated. And then the second thing is that it will not give you the best value for your business.
Okay. So how do I decide what to pay myself? Like let's say I typically have $700 left over and that's what I've been getting. And now it's like, that's not a real salary. You wouldn't hire anyone for that. Do I just pick a number that sounds good or what?
No. So you go and research what people get paid for your role. So let's talk about that. Typically, business people look at their profits as what is left over when their expenses are paid. I look at profit as what you decide it is. So in a profit first environment, which is what I'm talking about here, you decide on a profit. 20% of your revenue, 30% of your revenue, whatever that is, you decide this is what the profit is. After your revenue and you've taken out the profit, Whatever's left over is what you can spend. So it's a way of turning everything on its head and saying, we are going to decide what we can afford. The business decides what it can afford after you've taken your profits.
Yeah, I love that. So you're putting yourself into the business. You're not
Mm-hmm.
just taking the leftovers literally, but you're also like, well, if I want to make this salary, then I have to include that. And that means we need to make more to be able to cover all of it. So it's like a whole mindset change and everything.
It is a mindset change because the regular accounting formula is revenue minus expenses equals profit. And we're now saying revenue minus profits equals expenses.
Mm, okay. I love this. I think I need an accountant. um, and I hope that people are listening and they're like, I never thought about money like that. That makes sense. Or, wow, let me tell people about this. So, Francis, the certifications and trainings that you have, can you only work with people in the greater DMV, Washington,
I
D.C.,
can work with
Maryland,
mhm.
Virginia?
I can work with people all over the US and I do.
Okay.
Yeah. My
Yeah,
clients
cool.
are everywhere.
Yeah. And so you predominantly work with law firms
I do.
and lawyers. Okay. So how would someone contact you? Let's say they're listening and they're like, Francis, please help me. What are the next steps?
Jurisledger.com.
Okay.
That's JURIS because I love lawyers. Juris Ledger LEDGER.com.
Okay. Juristledger.com. Thank you for that. All right. So I just have two more questions for you.
Ooh. Okay.
So, Francis, you are working as a fractional chief financial officer.
Mhm.
What is your favorite part about being able to work with different law firms and not just being with one corporation or one big, huge firm?
First of all, I think I have more impact, working with smaller businesses than being one of many in a big corporation. What I do is more impactful. It changes people's lives. Like last year, I brought on a client, for example, and they were at the $250,000 mark. We looked at her business and I said, I think we can hit $1 million at the end of 2024. And she laughed. She thought it was really amusing. But we did. She did. Because we had a plan and we said, you go out and get this. This is what I need you to do. This is what this other person needs to do. And we're measuring this every single month. And November of 2024, we crossed that mark. And that's the way it is. Like I love that part of my job, being able to help people meet their goals and take care of their families, you know? Because another thing with the Profit First, I was telling you, every quarter under the Profit First system, you take out a distribution, just like you would if you were a corporation. You take out a distribution from your business apart from your salary. So we're putting that money aside, and that's your money, that's owner's compensation, that's not salary. And when people take that distribution, their kids begin to notice. And then the kids start asking them, when's the next distribution? I love that. I love that because the kids are like, I know when my mom or my dad takes a distribution, we can do certain things, because you're not allowed to put that money back in the business. It's for you and your family.
Yeah. This is making me really excited because I'm like, I wonder how much money I'm like is in the wrong category or I'm not
Hmm.
even recognizing because of the way that I'm doing it myself with my limited knowledge. Okay. And so, Francis, it sounds like there's a lot of accountability that's involved with being a chief
Yes.
financial officer. It seems like you're having fun. So, how do you kind of hold them accountable and you're still enjoying it? Like, you're not just that mean person and they're like, I don't want to look at my books. It's scary. It sounds like you're making it fun and engaging and you also hold them accountable. How do you handle
Yeah.
that?
So, um, we, everybody knows, like the client knows that at the end of the month, once the books are closed after month end, we're going to sit down together and measure what has happened. We're going to sit down together and measure efficiency. We're going to sit down together and, we put together all kinds of KPIs, things that we want to measure. And we're going to sit down together and discuss what has happened and why. We're not always going to meet our goals. Sometimes we don't meet our goals. We don't blame anybody. We just look at it dispassionately and say, okay, this is what happened. This is how we're going to move forward and what we're going to do next. I also subscribe to some things that people see as woo woo, things like mindset. I definitely subscribe to people's financial mindset. You know, some people have financial wounds. They grew up in an environment where money was very scarce, and they have to remove themselves from that and understand that it's okay to earn a lot of money. That's fine. It's not a bad thing. Rich people are not bad people. Some rich people are bad people, just like some poor people are bad people. It has nothing to do with money. So, money is a tool. And one of the things I tell people is don't be scared of it. You know, let it come to you, enjoy it.
I love that. Yeah. Like just manifest these better vibes about it, right? Just
Yeah.
change your mindset about it and realize it is a tool, but also it didn't hurt you. It was the people that were managing it or whatever. Like it's not the
Yeah.
money's fault.
It's not the money's fault at all.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fascinating. I've been reading this book and she says all the time that money is not bad. And she also says like we keep thinking that we have to work hard, work hard, work hard to have money, but like rich people are out on yachts. They're not
Hmm.
necessarily working hard the way you would think and they have money.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you probably are thinking about it wrong. I was like, okay,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, and that keys into what we were just talking about. You have to get to the point where your business can run itself. Where you're going off on vacation for a month and things run. And you don't have to keep looking over your shoulders. There are things that you can put in place in your businesses, processes you can put in place, and even people you can put in place to make sure that your business is going to run. I know people love to think that without them, their business isn't going to run well. That's fun for a couple of years. After that, you're going to hate the business. You need to put those things in place so that you can continue enjoying your business. The reason why you wanted to go into business can continue to hold true, because now you're not bogged down with all the day to day stuff that we all need to do as business owners. And you've shed all that and given those responsibilities to other people, and you can focus on the things that you love to do.
Yeah. Yeah, like
Mhm.
practicing law and finding new clients and mentoring and all of the rest. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Francis. I will make sure I put in the episode notes that everyone can go to jurisledger.com if they are looking for a fractional chief financial officer.
Mhm.
And I appreciate your time. I really know the audience is going to love this because you've made me excited about money and I don't really get too excited about money. Earning it, yes. Managing it, no. So I think you'll really help a lot of people by them just hearing this and hearing your excitement about it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course.